I want to take a story from the street to a canvas, then to a city.
What is the artistic process for Karimah? How do you decide, actually, I'm going to paint, I'm going to draw, I'm going to put my work in this kind of form?
So for me, like, the simplest way to phrase it is that I want to take a story from the street to a canvas, then to a city.
Okay.
So like, I'll meet that person in a dance class, in a community, in an event, and I want to expose their message and their purpose.
Yeah.
And then so I'll draw them, I'll try and capture their essence, and then I'll do a painting of them.
Yeah.
And then I take that painting and then I'll do a fly posting of it in the city somewhere where that location is specific to what that story means. Because for me, I want to put this story firstly in a place of like a gallery setting, but that is usually to fund me doing the community event where I take it into the city, where I fly post it or I make an event. In terms of like the practice, I'm learning as I go along, but it's kind of like getting rid of all of the chatter and the noise to be able to flow and to be able to channel to that person.
And how do you find that?
Yeah, exactly. So I like everything to do to release. So I'll meditate, I pray, I write, I dance, I read poetry, I listen to music, and I often like have a sacred space around my studio.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you do it like outside or is it within your kind of personal?
I dance with people like in like Studio 68, like or like anywhere in the street, and like I'll even just like meditate in like Itsu, wherever. I don't care, when I need space or on the tube. But when it comes to my studio, that's my sacred space. No one, like, it's like me alone.
Yeah.
I go in there, kind of like just have my coffee, read some poetry. I usually pray or I meditate, and then I start.
Within the art world, do you find that is kind of like the same situation of like, you know, the gaze, shall I say?
I mean, it's that kind of thing of you don't know what you don't know. So from my personal experience, there's already a barrier to entry being a female, and then another barrier to entry being a female of colour, and then like another barrier of entry being a female of colour who's also religious. So there's like a lot of things going on. So often I don't know what other I'm being targeted for, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, is it because I'm a person of colour, or is it because I associate with a religion, or is it because I associate with liberal thinking, or is it because I associate with being a woman, that like I'm perhaps being stereotyped, or and you also don't know what opportunities you're missing out on. But like, you know, I think it's something like there's like a minute percent. So in the National Gallery, there's still only 24 paintings by female artists, and there's like there's still like so much work to be done in terms of like exposing female artists, because the gatekeepers are still
men.
White men, basically. But
and do you find like when you're asked to commit, you know, been asked to be commissioned at a certain space or a certain event, do you find that they want you to kind of do it around like a certain subject, like femininity or feminism, or about, you know, your background, or do you find it's like actually most of the time it's quite free, but you still don't have that kind of support?
It's like a Trojan horse at the moment, because I feel like we're at a time where it's great to be female of colour in the creative industry, because you're given opportunities, because it's like, okay, we need to diversify, so we'll give more opportunities, which is great in the sense that they're opening up the spectrum, but there's still like, you don't know if it's a pity card or if it's like a token gesture, but until we have a level playing field, like that will be the case. So like, until like gender is not a token for commissioning someone, then that won't be the case. But we've got that work to do, and it's like, that's where I see our generation's role is to be able to like to open those gates for the next generation. So it's like, it's that thing of...
And it's this tokenism thing that's always been a frustration, and like, I'm not too sure if we're ever gonna kind of like get rid of it, you know? Like, I don't know if that's gonna be a thing. Like, is it gonna be here to stay? Like, there's always gonna, I feel like there's always a group that, you know, always kind of needs that platform to get that voice, or it's someone's always gonna feel kind of like an outsider or feel like they're not getting that opportunity, you know? So yeah, it's just within what you're kind of explaining, it's just like, it'd be interesting to see how, for instance, I know there's a lot of Muslim artists feel very token at the moment. You know? And
it's that thing, like with street culture, where you're like, okay, this is very special to me. Is it going to be taken over and then sold as a commodity and be part of that like whole capitalist cycle? And like part of me is also like, well, do you just play into it then? And do you just use the opportunity for what it is right now and ride that wave and start to open up that, like, you kind of not give into it, but you start to just like embrace that for what it is, and then hoping that like the next step is then that like it's not spoken about as that token thing, but it's the same thing with street culture. Like, you see how the street culture, like, it just like starts getting taken over by like Prada and like Givenchy and like these huge brands and high money like commissions. And
actually, how do you feel about that actually? Because like, I know within cross-platform we've been speaking about that a lot. Like, will street culture become kind of like elitist? You know, because you have like the whole Virgil Ablohs, the Daniel Arsham looking for Dior. You know, Banksy's work is being sold for how many millions, and it feels as if like this underground stuff is kind of going up, which we kind of want, well, some people want, but is it going too high?
I don't know. See, I've been like playing around with this idea in my head quite a lot, and I'm at this point at the moment where I'm thinking, look, like this in politics, in society, in everything, for me there's too much of a rhetoric of like tribalism, us against them, like one right, one wrong, and there's not much room for like the grey dichotomy in between, where we can have these paradox and we can have these like differences in opinion and still be on a level playing field. So I think like if I was to say no, street culture just belongs to this tribe or this this like kind of demographic, then we're just like creating another version of this kind of like us against them cycle, and we really need to break that. So if, for example, street culture starts talking to like a middle class kid from Surrey that perhaps wasn't made for, but they're then building empathy through these words that they can understand before, then empathy is a good thing. And like, I'm kind of at a point now where I'm like, well, I don't own anything and no one owns anything, and if you're empathizing, then I'm doing my job as an artist.
How important is faith to you? You know, because that's another thing we've been speaking in the office about, is just how recently I think people are more confident in actually putting their faith forward, you know, and showing actually I use this to create or to kind of get me through. How is faith like intertwined with your life and your art and, you know, your preparation?
So it's really important. For me, I see myself as just a channel or a vessel. That stuff is like from up higher, however you want to phrase like that higher being, is channeled through me into the world. So the reason why I try and like get as still inside is so that I can just be as good a channel as I need to be. And that helps me when I'm doing like live painting or when I need to get in the zone. I'm like, okay, how do I just like straight away relax, get in the zone and just express? It's a difficult one, because that's the reason why I don't know if you've seen, but I never really paint faces in my paintings, and that comes from my like Islamic upbringing. So in Islam, you're not allowed to hang pictures or to create sculptures that can be seen as idols. And so I was never allowed to do portraits growing up, and I was never allowed to do life drawing. And I was always so frustrated, because I was like, I can express so well straight away, and then so my way of like paying homage and respect to that part of my faith is by still not exposing the face. And that's why I painted dancers initially, because I was like, okay, who can I study that does expression really well, that I can basically, like, I looked at dancers to see how you express yourselves without your face, so that I can capture that. And then that's kind of why I still don't paint the face, because I feel like you can do a lot with just the hands and the feet and that kind of thing.
There's certain dancers' expressions that you don't want to actually
paint.
Yeah,
that's true. I mean, it might change, but like, because I just think for me, like, what started out is like a frustration, then became like a niche. Like what started out as me being like, oh, I really want to paint their faces, I can't, like, how do I express? Then it became like, oh, this is an opportunity.